The glass shatters before Danielle even sets her tray down. It doesn't fall. It flies, launched off the edge of the marble countertop with the kind of force that only comes from a hand that meant to do it. The sound cracks through the kitchen like a gunshot. Crystal explodes across imported tile. 3 other staff members freeze in place, eyes down, chests tight. Nobody breathes. Danielle breathes. She sets the tray down. Carefully. She turns to face the girl standing at the counter, 18 years old, cream-colored outfit, long dark hair falling past her shoulders, arms crossed, chin tilted up like she is waiting for a reaction and has been waiting for one her entire life. Hi viewers, if someone threw a glass right in front of you on your very first day at work and just stared at you, waiting, what would you do? Drop a comment, because your answer might change how you see everything that happens next. Danielle doesn't give her one. She walks to the supply closet. She comes back with a broom and a dustpan. She sweeps the glass off the floor in clean, even strokes, the same motion she'd use if she were sweeping up flour or dry leaves, nothing urgent, nothing dramatic. When the last piece is gone, she washes her hands at the sink, dries them on her apron, and goes back to the task she was doing before. The girl, Yura, stares at her like she has just spoken in a language she doesn't recognize. The other staff members have not moved. They are still holding the same positions they were in when the glass hit the floor. One of them, Amara, is gripping the edge of the prep counter so hard her knuckles are pale. She has been at this job for 6 weeks. She already knows what this moment costs the people who react wrong. Danielle is not thinking about the cost. She is thinking about the angle of light coming through the east window, about whether the countertop still needs another wipe, about the fact that the service trolley in the hallway has a left wheel that keeps catching on the tile groove near the staircase. She is thinking about everything except the girl. That is what none of them understand yet. The mansion sits on a private road in Beverly Hills behind iron gates that don't open unless someone on the inside decides they should. It is enormous and white and cold in the way that only money can make a building cold, not from temperature, but from the complete absence of anything accidental. Every surface has been chosen. Every angle is correct. There are no family photos on the walls. No shoes left near the door. No evidence that anyone inside this house has ever just sat down somewhere without thinking about it first. This is a house where everything is controlled. Except her. Yura has been through 4 maids in 7 months. 3 of them left without giving notice. 1 left mid-shift, still wearing her apron, and never came back for her final paycheck. The agency that placed them all said the same thing each time, not a good fit. The head of household staff, a woman named Mrs. Park, has stopped trying to explain it, and now simply processes the paperwork with the quiet efficiency of someone who has accepted that some problems don't get solved, only managed. But Danielle Josephine Brooks is not someone who came here to be managed. She came because she has $312 in her checking account. She came because her brother Malik's tuition payment clears in 9 days and there is an eviction notice on her kitchen table that she has not read in full because reading it in full would take something from her that she cannot afford to lose right now. She came because the agency called and said the rate was double the standard placement, and she said yes before she asked a single question. She does not know who owns this house. She only knows she needs the job. Mrs. Park gives her the tour in under 5 minutes. East wing. Main floor. Kitchen. The west wing is private. Do not go to the west wing. Do not ask about the west wing. Do not use the front staircase. Do not address family members unless addressed first. Meals are at the staff table. Hours are 7 to 3. Danielle nods at each item. She does not write it down. She doesn't need to. She starts at 7:02. By 8:30 she has cleared the east corridor, wiped down the main floor surfaces, and restocked the kitchen supply shelf in an order that makes more logical sense than the one she found it in. Mrs. Park watches her work for approximately 40 seconds from the hallway doorway, says nothing, and walks away. By 9:15, the glass is on the floor. And by 9:17 it is gone. What no one in the kitchen sees, what only the upper floor railing reveals, is the man standing in the shadows of the second floor, looking down. He is 30 years old. Slim, dark suit, black shirt underneath. A dragon tattoo winds up the left side of his neck, black ink, sharp-scaled, curling toward his jaw like it's listening. His face holds the kind of stillness that is not peace. It is control. The specific, practiced stillness of a man who stopped reacting to things in front of people a long time ago because he learned that reaction is a form of information, and information is the one thing he does not give away for free. Kwon Dae-hyun watches the woman in the white shirt sweep the floor. He watches her not flinch. He watches her not look at his daughter. He watches her go back to work. Then he turns and walks back into the West Wing without making a sound. Later that evening, Danielle is in the staff quarters washing her hands when she reaches into her jacket pocket for a hair tie and pulls out, by accident, a small photograph instead. She almost puts it back. But something makes her look at it. The worn soft corners, the image slightly faded now, two people on a front porch, laughter caught mid-breath. She holds it for 3 seconds. Then she tucks it back into the pocket, deep this time, and goes to bed. She does not know that earlier that afternoon, when she set the photograph on the kitchen counter for just a moment, while reaching for her notepad, Yura had walked in. She does not know that Yura saw it. She does not know that for the first time in longer than anyone in this house can remember, the girl stopped. Not because someone told her to. Not because she was caught doing something wrong. She stopped because something in that photograph reached past every wall she had spent years stacking and hit something she had buried so deep she had almost forgotten it was there. Danielle doesn't know any of that. But the story of what happens next begins exactly there, in the silence after the photograph disappeared back into a pocket, and the girl stood in the empty kitchen alone, her arms no longer crossed, her chin no longer tilted up, her face doing something it almost never does in this house. Feeling something. And somewhere in the West Wing, the man who built every wall in this house sat in the dark and ran through the numbers of an empire, completely unaware that the one thing he had never bothered to protect was already beginning to crack. The failed man is still talking when Kwon Dae-hyun turns to look out the window. He doesn't turn away because he is bored. He turns away because he has already decided, and continuing to watch someone speak after you've made your decision is a form of cruelty he doesn't feel like performing today. The garden outside is precise and green. The fountain runs at the same pressure it always runs. Nothing out there is failing him. In here, the man behind him is now using the phrase, "I take full responsibility," for the second time in 45 seconds. Kwon notes this the way a machine notes a repeated error. Without surprise. Without feeling. He says one word. Low. Level. Not directed at the man, directed at Ryung, the aide standing near the door, who has been working for Kwon long enough to know that one word in that register means the conversation is over and everything connected to this person ends quietly and completely before the week is out. Ryung nods. The man is escorted out. The room goes still. In the corner, slightly behind the door, positioned at the kind of angle that catches everything without being caught itself, a man named Seo Jin-ho adjusts his left cufflink. He is 42 years old. Clean-faced, polished, the kind of handsome that has been carefully maintained and weaponized. His title is Senior Advisor. He has worked beside Kwon Dae-hyun for 6 years, which means he has been in this room for hundreds of decisions exactly like this one. He has never once reacted to any of them. He is not reacting now. But his eyes track the escorted man all the way to the door. Then they return to Kwon's profile at the window. They stay there for exactly 2 seconds before dropping back to the folder in his hand. 2 seconds. Most people would miss it. The mansion runs on control. That is not a description, it is a system. Every person in this house has a function and a boundary, and a clear understanding of what happens when those boundaries are crossed. The art on the walls does not inspire. The furniture does not invite lingering. The hallways are wide enough for 2 people to pass without touching, which is the point, because touching, accidental contact, unscripted proximity, is the enemy of the environment Kwon has built. He built it because he understands something most people learn too late, that power is not volume. Power is the silence after the volume. Power is the moment when the room adjusts itself to you rather than the other way around. He learned this at 22 in a room very different from this one, when he was the person being looked at and not the person doing the looking, and he decided that day with the specific clarity of someone who has just survived something that he would never be on the wrong side of that equation again. The organization he runs now is extensive. It operates across 3 states and several industries that would not appear obviously connected to each other on paper. That is intentional. The man who just left the study had responsibility for one of those industries, a mid-level operation that required discretion above everything else, and he had decided that a small financial adjustment in his own direction was unlikely to be noticed. It was noticed. It is always noticed. Jin-ho lingers after the room clears. He does this sometimes. Stays behind while the others file out. Kwon has never commented on it. It reads as diligence, the advisor who doesn't leave until he's sure there's nothing left to handle. A small demonstration of loyalty, offered regularly, unrequested. The kind of behavior that calcifies into trust over years because nobody thinks to question what is freely given. The new placement starts today, Jin-ho says. His voice is smooth, measured. He delivers information the way a good surgeon delivers news, with the tone of someone who already knows the outcome and is simply walking you to it. Mrs. Park confirmed. A pause. Maid. Placement agency. Clean background check. Kwon does not turn from the window. And Yura? Jin-ho's expression stays exactly where it is. The same. The same means, still refusing tutors. Still cycling through staff. Still existing in the East Wing like a weather system that nobody knows how to read. The same has been the answer for 7 months. Kwon accepts this the way he accepts the numbers on a bad quarterly report, with the practiced composure of a man who has trained himself to solve problems and has not yet accepted that this particular problem does not respond to solving. He has not sat with his daughter in 3 months. He tells himself this is because the organization requires him. He tells himself she is young. He tells himself stability will come. He has been telling himself these things since her mother left. Jin-ho watches him. The watching is so clean, so practiced, so utterly expressionless, that it does not look like watching at all. It looks like a man standing patiently in a room. But Jin-ho is running calculations of his own. He has been running them for 4 years. Every failed staff member Yura burns through is a gap in the household record. Every gap is a window. Every window is leverage, the kind that doesn't need to be used right away, only stored, the way you store water before a dry season. He doesn't need the girl to cooperate. He doesn't need the daughter for anything. He needs the father to remain exactly where he is, looking out the window at a garden, managing an empire, and never once looking back at the room he is standing in. That evening, a report lands on Jin-ho's desk from a contact he has never met in person. The contact's name on the document is Chin. The report contains updated figures on 4 accounts that do not appear in the organization's official records. Jin-ho reads it once. He shreds it. He goes to dinner. In the East Wing, 3 floors up, a light is still on behind a door that is never fully open and never fully closed. And in the kitchen 1 floor below it, a woman in a white shirt is finishing the last surface of her first day, moving through the quiet house with the steady, unhurried pace of someone who has already decided that this place does not get to rattle her. Neither of them knows the other is awake. Neither of them knows yet what they are walking toward. But Jin-ho does. He knows exactly what he is walking toward. He has known for 4 years. Danielle is wringing out a mop at 6:40 in the morning when the team lead makes the mistake of humiliating Claudette in front of everyone. His name is Derek. He is 26 years old and he has been in the supervisor position for 11 days, which is exactly long enough to believe that his authority is permanent, and not long enough to understand what it actually costs to keep it. He is holding a clipboard. He is smiling in the specific way that people smile when they are about to say something cruel dressed as something administrative. He tells Claudette, 53 years old, 2 years on this contract, the woman who knows where every supply is stored and exactly how long each floor takes, that she is being reassigned to bathroom cleaning. Because, he says, someone has to do it. He says it with that flat smile, and he lets it sit there in the air between them, and 3 other women in the room go still the way prey animals go still when they know the noise they just heard is not the wind. Danielle finishes wringing the mop. She does not say anything loud. She doesn't make a speech. She walks to the supply closet, pulls out the floor buffer that belongs at Claudette's station, and starts running it across the section Claudette was assigned to. Clean, even passes. The machine hums. Claudette watches her for 1 second. Then she picks up her own equipment, and they work together in the efficient, wordless way of people who have decided that the most direct response to someone trying to shrink them is simply to get the job done without them. Derek stands there with his clipboard for 40 seconds before realizing that the floor is getting cleaned regardless, and he has nothing left to manage. He walks away. Nobody claps. Nobody makes it a moment. That is the point. Danielle Josephine Brooks has been working since she was 17 years old. Not working in the way people say they work, putting in hours, collecting checks, counting down to 5 o'clock. Working in the way that means she reads a space when she enters it, identifies what is wrong and what is inefficient, and what has been ignored, and corrects it, because the alternative is to leave things broken, and she has never once been able to do that. She grew up in Inglewood. Her mother, Rochelle, cleaned hotel rooms for 21 years at the same property on Century Boulevard. She raised 2 children alone and never once complained about the work itself, only about the people who looked past her while she was doing it. Danielle watched that for 18 years. She took a different lesson from it than most people would have. She did not learn to resent the work. She learned to own it. Her brother Malik is 20 years old and studying mechanical engineering at UCLA. He thinks their mother would have been proud of that. Danielle knows she would have been. She doesn't think about it too long because thinking about it too long takes something from her that she needs for the day. The eviction notice arrived 9 days ago. 14 days printed in red at the top. She has been counting. She does not allow herself to calculate the gap between what she has and what she needs more than once per day. Any more than that is a drain she cannot afford, and Danielle Brooks does not drain. She recalibrates. She moves. The commercial contract finishes at noon. She eats a sandwich in her car on the way to the agency's callback appointment. The agency's placement coordinator, a woman named Cheryl, looks slightly uncomfortable when she opens the file. High-profile client, Cheryl says. Beverly Hills. Live-in optional but not required. Discretion is mandatory. That's a contractual term, not a preference. She pauses. Rate is double standard. Danielle puts the sandwich down. What happened to the last person? She asks. Cheryl sets the folder on the desk. Folds her hands. It wasn't a good fit. The one before that? A beat. Also not a good fit. How many not good fits? Cheryl does not answer immediately. In the pause, Danielle gets a complete picture of the answer. She looks at the folder. She looks at Cheryl. She thinks about the red stamp on the eviction notice. She thinks about Malik's tuition. She thinks about $312. I'll take it, she says. She does not ask who owns the house. Some things you approach clean, without other people's fear already loaded in your chest before you've had a chance to form your own opinion. She has always believed this. She presses her white service shirt that evening, ties her beige apron, lays out her things in the precise order she always lays them out, and goes to sleep without overthinking. She is not a woman who overthinks. She is a woman who acts, and then adjusts. What she doesn't know, lying in bed that night, is that 2 miles away in a mansion on a private road, a girl is awake in her room at midnight turning a photograph of a stranger over in her memory and trying to figure out why she can't let go of it. What she doesn't know is that this job has already started. Not tomorrow morning, when she will press the buzzer at the gate. Right now. Tonight. The moment Yura saw that photograph and felt something she wasn't prepared to feel, that was the moment this job started. Danielle doesn't know any of that. She didn't know who owned the house. And that was the only reason she walked through the gate. The man at the gate looks at her ID one full second too long. Danielle watches him do it. She does not shift her weight. She does not soften her expression into something more accommodating. She simply waits, the way you wait when you've decided that someone trying to use time as a tool against you isn't going to work. He hands the ID back. Steps aside. She walks through. Inside, Mrs. Park moves fast. She covers the house rules in just under 4 minutes, and delivers them in the tone of someone who has given this same briefing too many times, and no longer expects it to matter. East wing. Main floor. Kitchen. West wing is off limits. Don't approach family without being spoken to first. Do not discuss what you see here with anyone. If you have a problem, bring it to her and only her. Danielle takes this in. I just need the job, she says. I don't cause problems. Mrs. Park studies her for a moment, the way an experienced woman studies another woman she's trying to figure out quickly, and something almost like relief crosses her face before she puts it away. Linens are in the east storage, she says. You start now. Danielle starts now. She is 40 minutes into the main floor when she notices the new hire. Young woman. Maybe 20. Name tag says Precious. Her movements are too careful, the kind of careful that comes from anxiety, not precision. She is trying to push the service trolley down the hallway and the left wheel keeps catching on the tile groove near the base of the staircase, locking up every third push, jerking the whole cart sideways and threatening the tray loaded on top. She has not asked for help. She is not going to ask for help. Danielle walks past her, sets one hand under the frame of the cart, shifts the weight forward and angles it 3 degrees to the right, enough to clear the groove, and pushes it once to show her the correct approach. Then she keeps walking without breaking stride. No eye contact held too long. No. You're welcome. Offered before it was asked for. Just the information. Delivered. Clean. Precious exhales so quietly it is almost not a sound. From the upper floor railing, partially in the shadow of the hallway wall, someone has been watching. Yura does not move when Danielle passes below. She doesn't make a sound. She just watches the way that woman walked, steady, deliberate, like the floor belongs to her by right and not by permission, and something tightens in her chest that she refuses to examine. At 11, Mrs. Park appears in the kitchen doorway. He wants to see you. No name. No room number. The way the other 2 staff members in the kitchen immediately find something urgent to look at tells Danielle exactly where she is being taken. The study is at the far end of the west corridor, the wing she was told not to enter, which means this is not an invitation. This is a summons. The door is open. She goes in. Kwon Daehyun is standing at the window with his back to her. The dragon on his neck catches the afternoon light. His suit is pressed and black and exact. He doesn't turn when she enters. He lets the room breathe for a moment, lets the silence do what it is designed to do, which is reduce people to the version of themselves that doesn't have a script prepared. Danielle stands still. She does not fill the silence. He turns. His eyes move over her the way a camera moves, neutral, recording, storing. He is not looking at her face the way most people look at faces. He is looking at how she holds herself. What her hands do. What her posture is doing when she doesn't think anyone is measuring it. A very long 3 seconds pass. If you become a problem, he says, you disappear. It is 5 words. No decoration. No pause before them for effect. Just the words, delivered in the same register you'd use to tell someone the building closes at 6. The women before her, every one of them, had a physical response to this sentence. A blink. A swallow. A micro shift in their shoulders. He had watched each one because the response told him exactly what he needed to know about how long they would last and how much they would tell people when they left. Danielle looks at him. For exactly as long as he is looking at her. Understood, she says. That is all she says. Her hands are still. Her shoulders are exactly where they were when she walked in. Her voice did not go 1 register higher or 1 register lower. She has not moved a single muscle in her face in any direction that suggests fear. Not because she is performing courage. Because she has already assessed this room and decided what it requires of her, and it does not require her fear. He dismisses her with a quarter turn of his head. She leaves. She is 3 steps from the study door when she hears a sound from the upper floor, small, deliberate. Like someone who moved and then stopped themselves from finishing the movement. She does not look up. She keeps walking. But she files it away. Upstairs, Yura stands at the top of the east staircase with one hand on the railing. She watched that whole corridor walk. She watched the door open and close. She has watched every other person walk out of that office with something different in their spine than what they had going in. This one came out exactly the same. Yura's jaw tightens. Then releases. She looks at the staircase below her. Every person who had come into this house, she had worked out of it. Methodically. Without pleasure and without guilt. It wasn't cruelty. It was a test. It was the only test she knew how to give. Push until they break, and when they break, you know they were never real to begin with. You know they were just performing. Nobody had ever not broken. Until now. She pushes off the railing. Goes back to her room. Closes the door, but not all the way. It never closed all the way. And that was the first crack. And that's when the game started. Monday starts with a vase. Not dropped. Placed. Someone has arranged the broken pieces of a jade green vase across the center of the east corridor in a scatter that is too wide for an accident and too deliberate for a coincidence. Sharp ceramic across pale tile. A message built from debris. Danielle stands at the edge of it. She studies the radius. 3 seconds. She gets the dustpan. Tuesday is the linens. Every freshly pressed set she prepared the evening before, folded with the precise overlaps she was trained to do, stacked in sequence on the guest shelf, has been pulled down and arranged across the wet bathroom floor in a shape that looks almost decorative. The tile is still damp. The linens are ruined. Relaundering will take 3 hours. Danielle starts the wash cycle at 7:15. She does not say a word about it to anyone. Wednesday is the trolley. She is carrying the afternoon service tray, full, loaded, the crystal glasses catching light, when she rounds the corner into the east sitting room and finds Yura standing in the exact center of the doorway. Not walking through it. Standing in it. Holding a glass of water extended toward the edge of Danielle's tray with the relaxed, absolute stillness of someone who has done this before and knows exactly what happens next. The physics are architectural. Move forward, the tray clips the glass, everything falls. Danielle stops. She sets the tray on the side table to her left. She adjusts the placement of one cup. She lifts the tray again. She takes the long route through the side corridor to the sitting room. No collision. No sound. She sets the tray down at the serving station and begins arranging the cups. Behind her, she feels Yura turn to watch her go. That is the only moment in 3 days that they make eye contact. The single beat when Danielle looks over her shoulder before turning the corner. Not to check. Not to see if Yura is satisfied. She looks the way a person looks when they want someone to know they saw exactly what just happened and chose something else anyway. Yura's expression shifts. It is not anger. It is something more uncomfortable than anger. It is the expression of someone whose script has just been given back to them and used. In the corridor on the other side of the foyer, a man is sitting in an armchair reading. His name is Minjun. He is 28 years old and he works as a personal aide in Kwon Daehyun's administrative team, which means his days are made up of 100 small errands that nobody above him bothers to track. He has the kind of face that people forget immediately, not because there is anything wrong with it, but because he has spent years making sure it gives nothing back. He has been watching this house for 6 months. He has watched every new hire walk in carrying their tools and their professional composure, and he has watched Yura dismantle them with the focused, relentless efficiency of someone who has very little else to do. He has watched each one reach a point where they either cry in the staff bathroom, or go quiet in the specific way that means they're composing a resignation. He has been watching Danielle since Monday. He turns a page. He has not actually read a word on it in 40 minutes. Thursday is the worst. There are 3 staff members in the kitchen when it happens: Precious, Amara, and a man named Isaiah who runs the morning delivery intake. All 3 of them go still when Yura walks in, because Yura walking into a room she doesn't need to be in means one thing. She walks to the counter where Danielle has just finished wiping. She picks up the full pitcher of orange juice sitting beside the prep station. She looks at Danielle. She tips it. Slowly. Not a fumble. Not a slip. She tips it over the counter with full eye contact, holds it until the last drop falls, and then sets it back upright with a small click. Orange juice runs off the edge of the counter in a thin, steady stream. It hits the tile floor. It pools. Precious grips the edge of her prep station. Amara has stopped breathing. Isaiah is looking at a spot on the wall that has become very important to him. Danielle looks at the puddle. She turns to the cabinet. She takes out a cloth. She wipes the counter, same motion, same pace, same pressure she always uses. She rinses the cloth in the sink. She wrings it out. She wipes the counter again because the first pass wasn't complete. She hangs the cloth on the drying bar. She turns back to the task she was doing before any of this happened, which was cutting the prep fruit for the afternoon service. Total time elapsed, 90 seconds. No commentary. No pause for breath that is longer than a regular breath. No jaw tight enough that anyone could point at it. No martyrdom in her movements, no leaning into patience as a performance. She is not demonstrating anything. She is not teaching anyone a lesson. She is simply working, because there is work to do, and the fact that someone just made more of it does not change that. Yura is staring at her. Danielle does not look back. The kitchen is completely silent except for the sound of the knife on the cutting board. Chop. 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 Even. Clean. Steady. At the doorway, Minjun appears. He has a glass in his hand. He walks to the kitchen water dispenser, fills the glass, takes 3 slow sips. His eyes move from Yura to Danielle. From Danielle to the spotless counter. From the counter back to Danielle. He does not say anything. He puts the glass down and leaves. But in the hallway he stops walking. Because what he just saw, he has been in this house 6 months, and he has never seen it. Every other person who stood where Danielle just stood either broke, or performed breaking, went through the motions of endurance in a way that was still fundamentally about Yura, still responding to her, still inside the system she had built. Danielle is not inside the system. She is not surviving the pressure. She is somewhere else entirely, some internal place that the pressure cannot reach, going about work that matters because work matters, indifferent in the most devastating possible way to the game happening around her. Minjun stares at the wall for a moment. Then he goes back to his room and writes 3 words in the small notebook he keeps under his mattress. He doesn't write them about Danielle. He writes them about the operation he has been running in the background of this house for 6 months, the one no one in this building knows about, including the man who runs it. The 3 words are, she sees it. He doesn't know yet if that is a problem, or the only solution he's been waiting for. The Wednesday delivery is early again. 6:52. Danielle checks her watch against the entry log on the kitchen wall, the one Mrs. Park updates every morning with the approved arrival windows. The delivery slot says 7:10. The knock came at 6:52. 18 minutes early. The same 18 minutes it was early last Wednesday. She notes it. Files it. Says nothing. She has been in this house for 2 weeks now and the house has started to show her things. Not because anyone is careless. The people here are not careless. But because no one thinks to be careful around the woman with the mop. That is the oldest blind spot in any room. The person doing the cleaning sees the room when everyone else has already decided there is nothing left to see. 3 things don't fit. First, the Wednesday delivery window shifts every week by the same margin and is always signed in by a different staff name. Not Precious. Not Isaiah. Not anyone Danielle has laid eyes on. The name on the manifest is Chin. She has looked at every face in this house. There is no Chen. Second, Jin-ho takes his afternoon meetings in the garden whenever the weather holds. Natural enough. What is not natural is the angle he chooses every single time, back to the east wall, which puts both of the property's east-facing security cameras behind him. He is never facing them. Not once. She has counted. Third, one of the other maids, a woman named Zora who has been here 4 months, passes Jin-ho's office door every Friday afternoon and looks at it the way people look at something they've been warned about. Not curiosity. Recognition. She knows what is behind that door. She has decided it is not her business, and she looks at it just long enough to confirm that decision and keep moving. Danielle holds all 3 of these the way she holds all important things, inward, still, waiting until she understands what they connect to before she decides what to do with them. Thursday afternoon, she hears it from the upper hallway. Not shouting. The opposite. A sound that is too contained, the kind of contained that means someone is working very hard not to make the sound they actually need to make. A single crash, sharp and involuntary, from behind Yura's door. Then silence. The door is cracked 2 inches. It is always cracked 2 inches. Danielle pushes it open and walks in. Yura is on the floor. Around her, a broken ceramic bowl, one of the decorative pieces from the window shelf, has spread in a wide half circle. There is a cut on the side of her right hand, shallow, a clean line of red across her palm. She is holding it against her knee. She is not crying. She is staring at the cut with the expression of someone who has been numb for so long that the return of any physical sensation feels foreign. Danielle walks to the bathroom. She opens the cabinet under the sink. She stocked it herself 2 days ago, antiseptic and gauze, 3rd shelf left, and comes back with both. She kneels in front of Yura without a word. Takes the girl's hand. Cleans the cut the way you clean a cut, quick, thorough, no flinching on behalf of the person who is hurting because flinching doesn't help them. Yura goes completely still. Not the stillness she uses when she is testing someone. A different stillness. An animal stillness. The kind that says, I don't know what this is and I am not going to move until I figure out if it is safe. Danielle wraps the gauze. Tears the end. Presses it flat. She stands up. She picks 3 ceramic pieces off the floor and sets them on the dresser. She walks out. She does not say, Are you okay? She does not say, What happened? She does not say anything, because what just happened did not need a caption. It needed hands. Behind her, Yura sits on the floor and stares at the white gauze around her palm for a very long time. That evening, Minjun intercepts Danielle at the base of the staff staircase. He is not carrying anything tonight. No folder. No glass. His hands are at his sides and his face has dropped its arrangement, and for a moment he looks exactly his age, which is young. The delivery schedule, he says quietly. The camera angles. He pauses. You've seen it. She does not confirm it or deny it. There are people in this house, he says, who have been here years longer than either of us and have not noticed those things. His voice is lower now. I need you to understand that what you're noticing is not small. Danielle looks at him for a moment. Really looks, not the quick assessment she gives a room, but the kind of look she gives a person when she is deciding how much of their warning is for her benefit and how much is for theirs. I'm always careful, she says. She walks upstairs. Minjun stays at the base of the staircase. His jaw works once, like he is deciding whether to say the rest of what he came to say. Then he closes his mouth. He goes back to his room. He takes out the notebook from under the mattress. He opens it to the last page. Beneath the 3 words he wrote last week, she sees it, he writes 4 more. She doesn't know what she's looking at yet. But Jin-ho does. And he saw Minjun talking to her. Which meant the real danger wasn't outside the house. It was already inside. The security post is empty on a Friday afternoon. That should not happen. Danielle is in the East Wing corridor, working her way through the final surface of the day, when she notices the absence. The interior post, the one that monitors the East Corridor camera panel, is unstaffed. The chair is empty. The monitors are running. The guard who should be sitting in front of them is not there. From 3 hallways over, she can hear raised voices in the garden, which tells her where the security team went and why. Something out there demanded both of them. Which means right now, in this house, nobody is watching the East Corridor feed. She is already turning back to her work when she sees him. The man comes down the West Corridor with the speed of someone who has an exit window and knows exactly how wide it is. Average height. Slim. Moving without the weight of someone who works here. Too quick, too directional, no hesitation at doorways the way staff hesitate. He is wearing dress shoes and carrying a flat envelope under his left arm, held close to his body. His route is precise. He is heading for Jinho's office. Danielle has 4 seconds. She tips the mop bucket. Not by accident. She places her foot at the base of the bucket, applies measured pressure, and lets it go, water spreading in a wide, immediate sheet across the corridor intersection. The sound is significant. The result is impassable. The man stops dead. He looks at the water. He looks at his dress shoes. He looks at Danielle, who is already in motion, pulling warning cones from the side cart, placing them, generating the full performance of a staff member managing an accidental spill with brisk, professional concern. "I am so sorry, sir, please, this way, the east route is clear." "I don't need. The water is still spreading toward the west door, sir, if you'll just follow me." She does not touch him. She does not raise her voice. She uses the oldest tool in the room, which is forward momentum. She is already moving in the direction she needs him to go, and stopping a person who is already moving requires a decision. He hasn't made one yet. She moves faster than his hesitation. She walks him through the east corridor. Past camera 1. Past camera 2. Directly into the return sight line of the guard who has just come back from the garden, radio still in hand. The guard looks up. Frowns. His eyes land on the man with the envelope. "I'm sorry about the mess," Danielle tells the man pleasantly. "The housekeeping office handles anything that gets wet. You can leave your details at the front." She smiles. She has never once smiled at this man before this moment, and she will never smile at him again. He looks at her for a long second. Then he looks at the guard who is now speaking into his radio. Then he turns around and walks back toward the gate. Fast. The envelope still under his arm. He does not come back. Down the west corridor, Jinho's office door opens 2 inches. Then closes. 1 hour later, Kwon Dae-hyun comes to stand in the doorway of the East Wing kitchen. Danielle is wiping the counter. She is aware of him the instant he appears. She is always aware of shifts in the air, but she finishes the counter before she turns. He is looking at her the way he looked at the man in the study last week. Not with warmth. Not with approval. With the specific attention he gives to things that have moved in a direction he did not plan for. "How long have you been here?" he asks. 17 days, sir." He says nothing for a moment. Then, "Continue." He leaves. Danielle turns back to the counter. She finishes wiping it. Rinses the cloth. But the geometry of this house has changed. She felt it turn the moment he asked that question, not because of what the words said but because of what asking them meant. A man like Kwon Dae-hyun does not ask questions he already knows the answer to. He asks questions when something has entered his frame that wasn't there before. She had entered his frame. For the first time, she wasn't invisible anymore. And in his office at the far end of the West Wing, Jinho stood with his hand on the door he had just closed and worked through the same calculation from the opposite direction. A maid who was invisible had just become visible. That was a problem that needed to be handled. Quickly. Min-jun comes to her before sunrise. He does not knock. He is standing in the staff hallway outside her door at 5:47 in the morning when she opens it, and his face has none of the careful arrangement it usually carries. His eyes are clear and direct, and they carry the specific weight of someone who has been awake all night not because they couldn't sleep but because they had too much to think through. He holds up the notebook. "The Chin signature on the Wednesday manifest," he says quietly. I went back through 6 months of records. The contact number on file routes to a disconnected line. The address is a vacant commercial unit on the east side. None of it is real. He pauses. He has been on this property 9 times in the last 3 months. Always when Jin-ho is here and the household schedule runs thin. Danielle steps back from the doorway. He comes in. She closes the door. Jin-ho has a secondary communication address. Min-jun continues. It doesn't route through the organization's systems. It's private. I trace 4 accounts connected to it, small transactions spread out, nothing that would flag the quarterly audit individually. But together they're a map, Danielle says. Min-jun stops. He's been building a record, she says. Not stealing money, documenting. Contacts operations, weak points in the structure. Over years. Whoever Chin is working for, they're not here to compete with Kwon. They're here to own him. You own a man like that by knowing everything about how he operates and making it clear you could expose it. Not a fight. A leash. Min-jun is very still. How do you know that? He asks. His office, she says. 3rd shelf left side. He stores documents he needs fast access to in the lower left desk drawer, not the cabinet. Men who use filing cabinets are organized for the long term. Men who use that drawer are organized for a specific event, something they plan to reach for quickly when the time comes. She pauses. He's been ready to move for a while. He was just waiting for the right moment. Min-jun sits down on the edge of the chair near the window. The gala, he says. It's in 4 days. 400 guests. Every major figure in the network in one room. That's the moment, Danielle says. She tells Kwon that morning. She does not go through Mrs. Park. She does not ask permission. She waits until the west corridor is clear, walks to the study door, knocks twice, and when his voice comes from inside she opens it and steps in. She lays it out the way she does everything, methodically, without decoration. What she observed. What Min-jun verified. What it means. She does not editorialize. She does not tell him how to feel about it. She simply places the information in front of him the way you place something fragile on a surface, carefully, and then you let go. Kwon listens without moving. When she finishes, he says nothing. The room is completely still. Then something moves across his face. It comes and goes in under 2 seconds, the way a shadow crosses a field, total and then completely gone. But Danielle sees it. She sees it because she was watching his face the way she watches every surface in a room, looking not for what is clean but for what has been disturbed. What she sees is grief. Not anger. Not the cold calculation she has watched him apply to everything else in this house. Grief, the specific, private kind that belongs to a man who has just learned that the person he trusted closest was never actually there. That the loyalty he believed in was a performance designed specifically for him. It crosses his face. And then it is gone. How long? He says. Not a question. A calculation. At least 4 years. She says. Possibly longer. He nods once. He turns to the window. She leaves him. What she doesn't see, Jin-ho in the east corridor, 30 feet from the study door. He is not pressing his ear to anything. He doesn't need to. He can read a situation from its outline, the closed door, the length of time Danielle was inside, the specific quality of Kwon's posture visible through the window glass from the garden angle. He adjusts his cufflink. Left 1. The habit he has when he is recalibrating. He pulls out his phone. Types 6 words to the contact listed as M. He does not sign it. He puts the phone away. He walks back to his office. The gala is 4 days from now. 400 people. The entire network assembled in one room, which is the only arena in which a man like Kwon Dae-hyun cannot act without paying a price for it in the currency that matters most to him. His image. His control. Jin-ho has been planning this moment for 4 years. He has thought through every version of it. Every variable. Every possible interference. He had not thought through Danielle. That was the only variable he got wrong. And this time, he was not planning to lose. The chandelier in the Rosewood Grand Ballroom holds 900 candle-equivalent bulbs, and none of them are pointed at the floor, which means 400 people cast no shadows here. That is the first thing Danielle notices when she walks in with the catering staff. No shadows. Nowhere to stand that isn't fully lit. Good. The gala is exactly what it looks like from the outside and nothing like it from the inside. String quartet at the north end. Servers moving in precise circuits between the bar and the floor. 400 guests in the particular formation of people who have money and influence, and who show up to these events not to celebrate anything but to be seen celebrating, to confirm their presence in the room where presence is the currency that matters. She scans the room the way she scans every room she enters. Jinho is near the east cluster. Black tie, glass in hand, moving between conversations with the smooth forward momentum of a man who is running a very specific route and calling it socializing. She has been watching him for 30 seconds and she has already counted 3 exchanges, brief, physical, a small object transferred in each one. An envelope. A card. A slim drive in a leather case. Each recipient pockets the item without looking at it, and Jinho moves on before any particular conversation closes naturally. He is not networking. He is distributing. Danielle looks at the clock on the north wall. 7:43. She has until 8 o'clock, which is when the formal program begins and the room's attention locks forward and the window closes. 17 minutes. Min-jun is already at the AV station. He has been there since setup. His role tonight is listed on the event staff manifest as Technical Liaison, which nobody looked at twice because the manifest has 46 names on it, and nobody reads 46 names twice. He has the drive ready. He has everything ready. He has been ready since Tuesday night when Danielle sat across from him at the staff table and walked him through exactly what they needed and exactly how it had to happen. He told her it was too risky. She told him what the alternative was. Let Jinho complete the transfer. Let whoever Chen represents walk away with 4 years of documented intelligence on Kwan's organization. Let a man who built everything he has through discipline and control get taken apart from the inside while standing in a room full of the people whose respect is the only thing holding that structure together. Min-jun had been quiet for a long time after that. Then he said, "What do you need from me?" Now he stands at the AV station and watches Danielle cross the ballroom floor on the east side, moving in the unhurried, even way she always moves, tray held level, white shirt pressed, apron tied. She passes close to the gray-suited man Jinho just finished talking to. Close enough to see the man reach into his breast pocket and confirm the item he just received is still there. It is. It won't matter in 9 minutes. 7:58. Jinho makes his final exchange. A woman in a navy dress, far right side of the room. The transfer is clean, a card case, hand to hand, 2 seconds, both of them already looking somewhere else before it's done. He steps back. He lifts his glass. He looks across the ballroom at Kwon Daehyun standing near the rear wall, glass in hand, unmoved, watching the room with that familiar stillness. Jinho reads his posture the way he has read it for 6 years, contained, controlled, giving nothing away. He looks like a man who does not know. Jinho takes a sip. Sets the glass down. The screen at the front of the ballroom activates. The string quartet stops mid-phrase. On the screen, a document. White background, black text, clean columns. A financial ledger. 12 entries. Names. Dates. Transfer amounts. Account codes. The formatting is precise and the headers are unmistakable. At the top, a single line in bold, secondary transfer record, SJH, year 1 through year 4. Below the ledger, photographs. Jinho and Chen, outside a building on the east side on a Tuesday morning. Jinho and a contact at a table in a parking structure. Jinho's hand placing an envelope in a vehicle that does not belong to anyone on this property. Each image timestamped. Each image clean. The room does not make a sound. 400 people and not one of them moves. Jinho does not move either. He is standing in the center of the east cluster, glass at his side, and he is looking at the screen the way a man looks at something he has already calculated every version of except this one. His face holds its arrangement for 4 full seconds. Then the architecture of it starts to come apart, not dramatically, not the way faces come apart in films. Quietly. The way a wall comes apart when the thing supporting it from behind is finally removed. He turns to the room. He opens his mouth. He closes it. Because there is nothing to say. The room has received what it has received. You cannot reach inside 400 people and remove an image they have already seen. You cannot unring a bell in a room this size. He knows this. He built his entire strategy on this principle, that the right information, in the right room, at the right moment, is irreversible. He just never planned to be the information. Kwon Dae-hyun sets his glass down on the table behind him. One small movement. Final. He says 4 words to the man on his left. 2 security staff cross the room. Jinho does not run. He doesn't struggle. He walks with them the way a man walks when the one thing he invested everything in has just been taken from him, and he has not yet found the new version of himself that exists on the other side of that. They go through the side door. The door closes. The string quartet, after a pause of exactly 7 seconds, begins to play again. Conversations restart. Quieter. More deliberate. The room has a new shape now and everyone in it is adjusting to it in real time. In the far corner, near the east catering table, Danielle sets her empty tray on the station and straightens her apron. She turns around. Yura is standing 3 feet away. She is not in the formal where she was assigned for tonight. She is in the cream-colored clothes she always wears, which means she came down on her own, unscheduled, uninvited, because something told her to be here. Her arms are not crossed. Her chin is not lifted. She is just standing there, the white gauze from 2 days ago still visible at the edge of her right palm. They look at each other. Yura's chin lifts, not the defiant tilt of the girl who broke glasses and ruined linens. Something older than that. An acknowledgement. The specific movement of a person recognizing something that cost them something to recognize. Danielle holds her gaze for 1 quiet second. Then she picks up her tray. And goes back to work. And just like that, everything he built turned against him. 3 weeks later, the mansion exhales. Nobody says it like that. Nobody says anything about it at all. But it is there, in the air, in the quality of the silence, in the way Precious moves through the kitchen without gripping the counter edge, in the way Amara laughs at something Isaiah says near the supply shelf and doesn't check who heard her. The house is not softer. It has not become something warm or easy. But the thing that was running beneath the surfaces, the current of concealed damage, the pressure of something constantly about to give, is gone. Danielle notices. She always notices. Her financial situation has been handled. Not dramatically. There was no grand gesture, no envelope on the nightstand. Kwon Dae-hyun called her to the study 8 days after the gala, offered her a permanent position, and named a number. She looked at it. She told him what a fair number actually was. There was a pause that lasted 4 seconds, which for a man like him is a significant pause, and then he said, agreed. Malik's tuition is paid. The lease on her apartment has been renewed for 12 months. The eviction notice is in the recycling bin where it has been for 2.5 weeks. She does not think about any of that while she works. She thinks about the work. She is in the east sitting room, the same chairs, the same afternoon light cutting across the floor at the same angle, when Yura comes in and sits down. All the way down. Both feet on the floor. Not perched on the edge of something. Not positioned to leave quickly. Sitting the way you sit when you have decided to be somewhere. For a moment, either of them speaks. Then Yura says, "Why didn't you fight back? All those weeks. The vase. The linens. The juice. Why didn't you say anything?" Danielle folds the cloth in her hands. Sets it on the chair arm. "Because you weren't ready to hear it," she says. Yura looks at her. "You weren't trying to destroy me," Danielle says. You were trying to find out if I was real. If I would hold. People who do that, they're not being cruel. They're being thorough. They've been let down enough times that they need to know the hard way. She pauses. Fighting back would have given you a reason to dismiss me. Staying gave you a reason to look closer. The room is quiet. Yura looks at the gauze on her palm. She flexes her hand once, slowly. Did he send you to talk to me? She asks. No, Danielle says. A beat. He doesn't know how, Yura says. Not with bitterness. With the flat, factual tone of someone who processed that truth a long time ago and decided to carry it lightly. He's learning, Danielle says. Yura looks out the window at the garden. Late afternoon light. Long shadows on clean grass. The fountain running at its usual pressure, steady and unhurried. She doesn't say anything else. But she stays. That is new. Down the hall, in the room he has occupied for 6 years and will occupy for the rest of his tenure here, Kwon Dae-hyun sits at his desk. The quarterly report is open in front of him. He has not read a line of it in 11 minutes. He is thinking about a girl on the other side of the house. He is thinking about how long it has been since he walked over there. He closes the report. He stands up. In the end, she didn't win by overpowering them. She won by refusing to become them. She walked into a house built on control and silence, and the crushing weight of money that had decided it didn't need to feel anything, and she didn't fight any of it. She didn't try to fix it with force or volume or performance. She simply stayed. She simply worked. She simply refused, every single day, to let this house turn her into a smaller version of herself. And that quiet, unshakable refusal was the most powerful thing that house had ever contained. If this story stayed with you, if Danielle's strength hit different, if Yura's wall finally cracking meant something to you, if you have ever been the person in the room that nobody counted until it was too late, drop a comment below and tell us which moment in this story hit you the hardest. Your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss a story on this channel. Every story here is built to do one thing: show what real strength looks like when it has no audience, no applause, and no guarantee. If that is the kind of story you came here for, we have more coming. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that quiet does not mean weak. And that sometimes staying is the most radical thing a person can do. The next story is coming. The most feared man in Miami trusted the one person he was supposed to destroy. Don't miss it.